Hello and welcome to Technology Made Clear, how to use Excel, the basics. So before we get started, if the video doesn't look clear, then just please make sure you check your settings here and make sure it's set to 720p, and then not here, actually it's on your actual video, which is down at the bottom of the YouTube video. Set to 720p and then it will be clear. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be looking at the menu and the ribbon, rows and columns, cells, the workbook and sheets, or otherwise known as tabs, entering types of data into cells, and using basic formulas to add and subtract. So let's get started with the menu and the ribbon. So when you open up Excel, you'll see a screen similar to this. I minimize the ribbon, and you do that by clicking there. So if you want to get some more data, you can minimize and maximize the ribbon by clicking that button there. Now the ribbon is this here. So all of this is the ribbon. And here are your menus. So you've got File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review and View, and each menu gives you a different menu with different icons which obviously do different things with inside Excel. Excel is made up of rows and columns. So you've got rows here and you've got columns here. Now it goes down to a lot of rows. There's over 1 million rows within Excel, and there's quite a few columns to work with as well. So you can put a lot of data into Excel and it can do a lot of number crunching for you. You can make rows or columns bigger if you want to. For example, if you put your mouse cursor like that and just hold down your left mouse button and drag it across and let go, it will make that bigger for you. Or you can go like that and make it smaller for you. Or if you want to do more than one at a time, you can highlight there with your left mouse button, click how many you want to do, and then if you do it like that, it will change all of them when you let go. Or you can make them smaller like that. And you can do the same this end as well. You can do just one, or you can highlight a few and change a few at the same time like that. Okay, so we'll just quickly undo all of what we've just done. So that's there. You can undo anything you do by clicking up here, and you can redo, clicking there as well. So I'll just go back to how it's set up as standard. Also, another way of sizing the cell, say for example you type in some data there. So if you put date of sales, you can see the sales has gone over the cell size, which doesn't look too bad there. You can still see what you've put. But then if you wanted to put information there, as in a date for example, you can't see the date of sales, and that's because it's too small. So again, to do that, to make that bigger, column to D, you could hold it and drag like before. Or a better way of doing it, if you double click on there, it will automatically fit it to the size that it needs to be, and that will be based on whichever one of these rows here, columns sorry, here as the biggest longest piece of data. For example, date of sales in February, and if you double click there, it would do that for you. Also, you might have seen earlier when I put the date in that we had that. Now if you ever get that, and that is the hash key, or the gate is also known as, it just means that there's numerical data in there and the cell's too small to show the numerical data. So if you just double click on that, it'll make sure it's big enough for you so you can see. You can also insert columns, you can delete columns, you can insert rows and delete rows, and it's all dependent on where you've got data. So if you put some data in here, some here, all depending on what you're wanting to do. So if you wanted to insert a row before dates are 2, you just right click on that row 3 there and do insert, and it would insert the row for you. If you wanted to delete it, you'd right click and press delete, and it would shift that up for you. The same here, if you wanted to put a space here, you could right click on there and insert. If you wanted to get rid of that, you can press delete. Now, a spreadsheet is made up of individual cells, and each one of these is a cell. Every single one of these is a cell, and each cell has its own reference. So this one here, you can see G is highlighted in orange and 8 is highlighted in orange, which gives it a cell reference of G8, and you can see that up there. You can change the cell reference if you want to. As you can see, it's changing when we click on the different cells. You wouldn't generally want to do that if you're just using it to enter data as standard, but you may want to use it at a later date for more complicated formulas. An Excel spreadsheet is a workbook, so this here is your workbook, and the workbook has separate sheets on there, as you can see here. As standard, you would always have 3 sheets, and that's sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. You can rename sheets if you want to, and you can do that by double clicking on the sheet and putting the new name and hitting return. You can delete sheets if you want to as well, just by right clicking, pressing delete. Or you can insert if you go to sheet 3 and you want to insert a sheet before sheet 3. So we'll insert the sheet 2 we just deleted. Just right click and click insert, worksheet, and then press OK. And that's added a new sheet. Now it has called it sheet 5 because there was already a sheet 2, so it's just gone on in order. But again, you could change that to sheet 2 like that. Now, as you've already seen, there's different types of data that you can enter into cells. Generally speaking, there'd be roughly 2 types, and that would be a field name, and a field name will be something like name, and then if you had address, that would be a field name, and that would let people know what they need to enter. And if you've got the name and address going down like there, it would mean that you put your name there, for example. And then you might put there, I don't know, like that. And then you can also do it the other way as well. So you could have your fields going across like that. I won't put this whole address in, but you can do that as well. And again, as you can see, it's it's cut off there. If you just highlight them 2 and double click in between, it will make sure they're both stretched as big as they need to be, so you can see all of the data. The other data you would enter into cells is obviously numbers, because Excel is to work with numbers like that. And the other thing you would do with Excel is use formulas, and formulas is how you calculate the numbers. And if you're doing a formula in Excel, you'd always start that with an equal sign. Say for example, if we wanted to add up these 3 numbers here, we could do it quite easily in our head, but I'll just show you. You could arrow up to H3 and then press plus H4 and then plus H5 and hit return. And I did that using the cursor keys. Another way you can do that is just delete that. Just do equals and use your mouse to click on the cell and then press plus, and then click on the next cell, press plus, click on the next cell, hit return. Or say if you wanted to add the first 2 together and then take away, subtract the last cell, you could do equals plus that, but then take away that, and that would give you that sum there as well. But that's a real basic way of doing a formula. It may be fine for doing a few numbers like this, but if you had a list of hundreds of numbers, you wouldn't want to do that because it would take too long. So the best way of doing a formula, for example, would be equals sum and then you'd open bracket, and again you can either click on the first cell and drag down and then close the bracket, and that does that for you. Or another way, equals sum, and you can literally type the cell reference, so H3 and then the colon and then the last cell that you want to add, which is H5, and you can see the blue shows which part will be calculated for you, and then close bracket. So you can see there's lots of different ways to do a formula. There's not just one way, but usually using the equals sum is much better than doing, because it's much quicker for you. Okay, so that's roughly how you use Excel. So let's now use it as in a practical sense. So if we delete all that, and to do that again, there's lots of different ways, but how I'm going to do it is holding down my left mouse key, going over all the data, pressing right click and delete. Now this is saying to shift the cells up because the cells below cells left, cells up. It doesn't really matter in this instance because there's no other data for it to affect. So just press OK. So we will do here sales, and then that would be the person selling, and we will do it Monday to Friday, assuming they have the weekend off. And then the name, Mark, Jenny, Paul, Karen, Sarah, I don't know, David. I think that's enough for now. And we just put in made up sales that they've done. Some people are obviously looking like they do more sales than others, so I'm sure they might get a good bonus, who knows. Let's just enter the data, let's be optimistic. 21. And you can see it's quite easy to enter data into Excel. And then we've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And let's say on Friday they don't do as many because, you know, it's Friday, people got the weekend, they're having a chat, so there we go. Not that you should do that, but it could happen. Okay, so this information here doesn't give you much information because you've had to put in this information yourself. So you put in the weekly sales for your team. So if you wanted to then manipulate this information, that's how Excel comes, you know, that's when Excel comes into its own. So if we wanted to add all of the sales marked done during the week, it's easily done by doing that here. So weekly sales, and then you would do equals sum, and again, as we saw earlier, go to C5 and then colon, and then go to the end, and then term. Now we could do that on each one of these, but you don't need to do that with Excel. So we could do that again. But that's again taking up your time. So because the formula is the same, the only difference is the cell reference. So as you can see, this cell reference is saying do C5 to G5, and that's Mark there. This cell reference is doing C6 to G6, so you can see that it's going down, so we want that to do that. But how you can do that automatically, if you put your mouse there where it changes, you can either drag it down, or because we've got data here, if you double click on there, it will follow the formula down to where until this data ends here. So double click, and it's automatically changed the cell referencing for you, so it's automatically done the calculation for the individuals. And then you could have, say, totals, daily totals there, and then equals sum. And again, you can't use that on this occasion because this one here is only for going down as far as double clicking. but you can use it to drag it across manually yourself. So we'll do that, and we will go all the way to here. And the reason why is then it will also give you your weekly sales total as well. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and your weekly sales. So you've got, straight away you can see it's quite easy to get Excel to manipulate the numbers for you and give you some figures back. And you've got your weekly sales for each individual and your daily sales there, daily totals, or should we say daily sales there. And that's also your weekly sales. You might want to put that in bold. You can do that by pressing Control B, or you can go up there and press Control B. Again, this doesn't look that great because it's slightly cut off. Double click there, that does that for you like that. So that was just a very quick short video on the basics of Excel. There's lots more that you can do with Excel, so please have a look at the other videos that I've got. Okay, that's great, and thanks for watching Technology Made Clear, Excel, the basics.